Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Malts and Meeples. I'm Petter, and today, we are back again. Top 100 games of all time, 50 through 41. This one has two new games on the list for this chunk of the top 10. So I'm excited to get through these. Just a quick streaming schedule update. Things are busy around here, which is why we haven't been doing Baldur's Gate 3. We will not be doing Baldur's Gate 3 this Friday, but we plan to be back at it the following Friday. Definitely, we're getting towards that end game there. As well as then Mondays have been a little bit busy. So also plan on getting back to Legendary Kingdoms. But we've now hit 9, so it is time to start the list. And we start with a number 50 here. Welcome to. Now this one it says was new, aka not on the list. I guess it's been 99 the 2 years ago. Very possible, I guess it wasn't on the list last year. But this is one of those roll and write games that I enjoy quite well. This is about building, I always describe it as building your perfect step forward neighborhood where everything is white picket fences, all the house numbers have to be in perfect order. But the main mechanism for the game is there are 3 stacks of cards. You flip over one from each stack. That gives you a house number, and you have to use the house number and the corresponding symbol with that house number to try and get your points. You're trying to get neighborhoods of the right size, picket fences in place, things like that, or get a lot of parks, work on advertising, all these different things that are going to give you points. Well, always putting in those house numbers as well. It's a fun game, and I like this is not a combo-tastic roll and write or anything like that. This is one where everything just kind of moves along nicely, easy to explain, easy to play, easy to teach, easy to repeat yourself. So, next on the list is one of the new ones. That is because this is a new game as of, I want to say it might have been January this year or very end of last year. But Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. At least that's when I got it. I believe it was later part of 2024 that this came out. But this is basically Seven Wonders Duel, but with a Lord of the Rings theme. You either play the forces of Mordor, or you play kind of as the forces of good, as the Fellowship, and you can win in a few different ways for both sides. If either side ever gets a troop or building into every single territory, they win the game. If the Black Rider catches up to the ring, they win the game. If the ring makes it to Mount Doom, they win the game. If either side ever gets support of, I believe it's all 6 of the different factions, might be 6, it might be 5, and then there's a way to potentially get that 6th one in there, you win the game. Of course, none of those can happen, and instead you look to see who has majority on the map. But I like how this one doesn't have, it has the same sort of engine building that Seven Wonders Duel does. And actually, I'm getting rid of Seven Wonders Duel for my collection because of Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. And that's just because I know I'm going to play the themed one more often. I also like it because there's not the addition problem at the end. You're not doing a whole bunch of math to see who won. You check those 3 objectives throughout the game. If any of them's ever true, it just ends right there, which you can do with science and you can do with military in Seven Wonders Duel. But this one banks a little bit more on that, and then that tactical, like how many areas can you control in the middle section on the board, I think is an interesting way to have a tiebreaker or to kind of determine a winner if nobody completes one of the objectives. But in the handful of times I've played it, I think I've only seen that come into play once or twice. And then I've seen all the other ways to win happen. So I really like the balance and how everything feels like some way that you can win. Number 48 was 20 last year. And this one's just down because I haven't played it recently. But I own everything for it, and I'm excited to get it to the table again. This is Heat Pedal to the Metal. This is a racing, hand management, deck management game, as you can push around the corners. Every corner kind of has a target number for an amount of spaces that you move when going around that corner. But you can push it further, but you're just pushing your engine further and you're adding heat to your engine, and that can clog up your hand. So you might push around a corner, but then you have to pull back how fast, how hard you're moving, because you need to clear out that heat so that you can be set up again. It's a lot of fun. I like it just with the base cards, but I also really enjoy drafting some of those cards to add into the collection, and I really want to do kind of a tournament or a series, I should say, kind of like NASCAR or F1, and race a whole bunch of different maps, keep track of how well everybody's doing across those races, and find an ultimate winner. If I do that, if I can get that to the table sometime and do that even over like 3 different races, I fully expect this to move back up the list. It's just a matter of I haven't played it that recently. My number 47 here is going to be a tiny little game, Ohanami. Ohanami is a game, and this one actually moved up a few spots, but this is just a drafting game with a couple little twists on it. The first twist is that you draft 2 cards every time, and these cards have numbers on them, so you have to add them to one of 3 columns you're creating. Now, you don't have to add both of them to the same column, but you just have to add the cards to your columns. And you can only put it at the top of the column or the bottom of the column while keeping everything in numerical order. It's a lot of fun because you have to debate. Sometimes you see the numbers getting close together and you're like, well, do I draft this 56, which ideally would have gone on this one, but I've just passed 56, and this one's at like 36. Do I just jump this one up so that I can play that card to help with my scoring? So I enjoy that element of the game and trying to keep that in balance. As well as then I enjoy the scoring for the game. So the game is played over 3 different rounds, and you continue to build out your columns each round. But the first round, only the blue cards are scored. Then only the green and blue cards are scored. Then green, blue, and gray, and then pink is scored at the end of the game. So really, pink is scored in that last round as well. So blue cards are worth the least in a single scoring. I believe it's 3 points for a single score. But if you get in the first round, that's 9 total points. That's about the max points you can get from something. It's just every single round after that, there are diminishing returns. So it's just a fun but simple system. And then this one moved up. I guess it was on the list last year. Number 46 for me moved up 18 spots. So 64 to 46, we have Mind Up. Mind Up is another kind of simpler card game, but again, it has that twist to make it work. And in this one, everybody is trying to not draft, but get cards to score the most points. And you're collecting different colors of cards. You have this, I'm trying to describe it. It's kind of nice to be able to show this one, actually, to be able to teach it. But you have these 5 different scoring spots that are valued between 1 and 5 points. Everybody has the same setup. It could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's equally as likely you're going to get a 4, 3, 1, 2, 5. So it could go whatever different order. Everybody has that same setup, and you're seeing who can score the most points. Now, how do you get those points? Well, you see kind of that line of, let's say, the 4 cards in the middle there on the cover, the 8, the 17, the 35, and the 48. If, for example, on this, the cover, the 10 is the second lowest number, that's going to get the 17. And so that's going to go onto your grid. And it's going to drop into the first available spot that doesn't have a card of any color on it, assuming you don't already have a spot with greens. Then you get more greens, those all stack together. So you can start to see, like, okay, we know the points go for 3, 1, 2, 5, or whatever it was. So the cards in the first column are all going to be worth 4 points. The number on them doesn't matter at that point. They're all going to be worth 4 points. That's pretty good. 5 is all the way at the other end. And you're just trying to optimize how you bid to get stuff. Not really optimize, I get, but you're trying to push down so that you can get as many cards as possible on those high scoring spots, wherever they might be. It might be you're trying only to get a certain color because 5 is in that first spot, and that's going to give you the most points. But everybody else is trying to do the same thing, kind of work their own puzzle, and it's all based off of how you can bid for those different cards, and you don't know what other people are going to pick because it's a blind. Everybody bids once, you flip, and then sort them into order. So you may think, okay, numbers go up to 60, by the way. A 55 is going to be good for getting that last number. If somebody else does a 56 or 57, now you're taking that second to last one. So it's all about, there's a little bit of trying to remember what people might have, because that's the other twist to this game. So you play it over 3 hands of cards. And after the first hand, you take all the cards that you just scored with, and that's your new hand. So an additional card will be added to that, but if somebody's really paying attention, they might know, okay, Petter, you ended up with a lot of low numbers. So they know, like, okay, at least, okay, Petter has the 1 and the 2. They can win 2 of the low numbers whenever they want. So if I think there's something that I'm going to really want that's in the first spot, it's not even worth it going after it. Might as well come up with a plan B and not try to overextend yourself. It's just simple and fun. And the one thing I didn't mention too, looking at that cover, that 7 you see there, that 7 is now going to create the next set of cards in the middle, or the 10, I should say. Not the 7. The pink 10 is going to create that next group of cards in the middle that everybody is playing out a card as a bid to get. All right, so that was my number 46. My number 45 is new to the list. This is a trick-taking game, Schadenfreude, where you don't want to win the trick because you get points. You collect cards for points. I believe if you're in second in the trick and you're taking cards that don't match the suit of the trick to get you points. Again, this is one I haven't played in a little bit. I played it early in the year, absolutely loved it, clearly. It's number 45. 5 on the list, but a couple of the rules are a little bit hazy in my head. The big thing I remember with this one, though, is this is a trick-taking game where, well, there are some negative numbers, so it's possible to kind of counteract some points. If you have matching numbers, so say I have 2 7s in what I've taken, they cancel each other out. A lot of just little twists and tweaks to it. But the game also has an interesting end trigger. The end trigger is when somebody passes 40 points. And the goal is to be the person closest to 40 points without going over. Whomever is the closest, or can be right on 40 points, and hasn't gone over, they're the winner of the game. So it does all these kind of normal trick-taking things, just with like whoever, you have to follow suit if you can, whoever has the highest number in the suit, all this normal stuff. And then it just messes with it and makes it so you are deciding, do I really want to win or not? Number 44, this one was 9 when it jumped on the list 2 years ago, and then 31 last year, and it's a case of just not having played it recently, but it's my second favorite game that heavily uses the I split you choose mechanic, and this is the one that I can play with more people. This one is purely I split you choose. So I'm trying to create a couple different combinations of things to basically be the best art collector. The more art you collect, they score points in different ways. Sometimes, like for example, there's fine arts and they're in 2 different colors, blue and green. During the game, you're going to score your fine arts, and you score whichever one is the lower of the 2. So that's one way something scores. Another one scores based off of like how you are compared to the market. Like the market adjusts as you go along, and you have to figure out how you compare to that. And the closer you are to matching it, the more points you're going to get. Just little different ways of scoring, as well as then at the end of the game, you look and see, okay, how much, say, fine art do I have? And then how many contracts do I have around that fine art? Because the more contracts I have, I'm going to score a bunch of points based off of how many pieces of fine art I have compared to how many contracts I have. It's a little bit confusing to explain, but I love it, and I love it for just how simply this is I guess you could almost call it set collection sort of game, as well as then the I split you choose. And everybody is doing the I split you choose at once. You have a little card of your own type. That's the divider. You stick that in the middle where you want to split it up, and your opponent is going to pick one of the 2 sides. You get handed something similar. You look at it, and you pick one of the 2 sides. Then you hand it back with that divider in the middle. That divider gets to be a wild card for you. So it's just it's so much fun for just something that is so focused on a single mechanism of how do you optimize your I split you choose. Because I'm looking over at the person on my left and saying, okay, what do you have? And how do I not give you something that you're going to want? Or I'm going to make it tempting enough for you that you're not going to block me from giving myself a slightly better deal. Number 43 on the list is going to be this one, 67 last year, 30 the year before that. This has been near my top 10, and it's going to be Ice Cool. Ice Cool, this is dexterity flicking game where you are penguin high school students who are skipping out because you want to have a snack of fish. And it's a race to get your fish before the one player who's the hall monitor catches you. Then whoever's the hall monitor is, that rotates, and you do it again. And whoever has the most points after everybody's been the hall monitor is the winner of the game. The great thing with this one is it's just silly fun. You get excited when somebody makes a great shot. Yes, there's absolutely skill that you can do with this. One of my favorite things is with the little penguins. You can see it on the cover there. You can flick down on their head so their head hits, that causes the whole penguin to pop up, and you can pop it and hop it over walls. Now, that's really risky because you could pop it way too far just off the board, or like there's a strategy where from your starting spot to get to where the fish is, it's going to take a couple of turns, maybe even 3. But if you pop it up, you can pop it into a room that gets you closer to everything immediately. But if you pop it too far, you're into the room with the hall monitor. And so it's this fun risk reward sometimes. When you pull, like I said, when you pull off an amazing shot, it just feels great and everybody's excited at the table for it. My number 42, actually, I'm surprised that these two are adjacent to each other, but at the same time, they do kind of match the same thing. This pitch car actually has dropped a little bit. It was 26 last year, 43 the year before that, so basically in the exact same spot. But this is another flicking game, and this one I just give the slight edge to because it's simpler. It is simpler, yet more challenging in terms of I can really create something unique in the tracks that I create, and that's going to be a contest of flicking and seeing who can do the best as a racer, make it around that track first. And I have everything for the game. I have the loop-the-loop that you can put in there. That is tricky. I have the ramp that you go up to an upper level. It's always fun to cut another road underneath that. And the game's simple. You flick your car on your turn, and wherever it stops, that's where you're at. Or if you go off the track, go back to where you were. If your car flips over, you go back to where you were. And it's imprecise. You don't need to go back exactly where you were. You just need to get close enough to that spot because it's a light, goofy game, and it's just a lot of fun and plays up to, I think, 8 just with the cars that come. So it's a good one. I guess Ice Cool plays the same if you have Ice Cool and Ice Cool 2. But it's just a good one, fun one for not just racing, but setting up the track. It's always fun to set up a track and see like, okay, yeah, this is what I got for it. And then finally at 41, this one has dropped a number of spots. It's just because I haven't gotten it played this year, but man, the memories of playing Metal Gear Solid just make it's so enjoyable. This is one where there's a campaign, but also then kind of one-off scenarios that you can play. And when you're playing it, this is not a game you go in guns blazing. In fact, you want to kind of have an idea of how you think the guards might move, because you don't want to get spotted by them. The second you're spotted by the guards, they're going to raise the alarm and everybody's going to come for you. So that's not going to work too well. On the flip side, sometimes you just need to knock down a door and potentially get spotted by the security camera. So yeah, there's just a lot of fun things with this, and it's a simple game simple enough, I should say. You're activating different abilities. You have a certain number of action points you can do per turn. So it might be different types of moving. You can move faster, but that potentially is going to cause a guard to come towards you. So like you might move further, but the guard is then going to check on the noise that was created potentially with that bigger move. Or you can just continue to move slowly, but more guards might spawn, and now all of a sudden you're dealing with a lot of different guards in there, and there's no real good way to sneak around to the different objectives you need to reach. This is one I do need to sit down and I need to play the campaign for. The campaign is interesting because it follows the Metal Gear storyline in that sometimes it is just a solo or a single character that you'd be running. Other times it's going to be multiple. So it's not going to be one that follows the normal kind of path of a cooperative like campaign. This one's going to be a little bit different. I think it actually could be one that's pretty decent to stream. So we'll see if I get around to that. But that's it. That is 50 through 41. Just to recap it all for you here. At number 50, we have Welcome to. It's all about building that perfect Stepford neighborhood. Then Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. This is Seven Wonders Duel, but Lord of the Rings theme and more ways and more expectation to win the game by one of those ways in the game versus reaching the end of the game and making a check. Number 48, Heat Pedal to the Metal, hand management game about pushing your engine as far as it can go and then cooling it off when you need to be able to race around the track the fastest. Ohanami is a drafting game that I almost call like Racco because you need to keep the numbers in order. It can be mean with two or kind of just a chill drafting game with more. Mind Up is a puzzle of a game where you are betting or bidding for cards, but your bid is getting a card based off of the number order it's in, not getting that selection that you might want. Schadenfreude is a trick-taking game where you don't want to be the best because you want to score as close as you can to 40 without going over. If you go over 40, you can't win the game anymore. In fact, that ends the game. The Great Split is an I Split You Choose game all about art collecting, whether it's statues, books, fine art, whatever it might be. All of them score in different ways, and it's all based off of creating these split combinations of cards. Then we have two dexterity games. Number 43, we have Ice Cool, flicking penguins around a school trying to get your fish. And Pitch Car at 42, a flicking racing game where you can create absolutely crazy maps with everything from long straightaways to loops. And then finally, the scenario campaign stealth game, Metal Gear Solid. This one is, simple actions, but a lot of depth in this as you try and stealth around. But with that, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, schedule is going to be a little bit odd this week, but be back again next Wednesday for sure with the next part of the top 10. And then next Friday, I believe, should be back streaming Baldur's Gate 3. But the best way to know when we go live is to simply subscribe and click that notification bell. That's going to let you know whenever we go live. And really do appreciate everybody checking out these videos. If you enjoyed this content, please give the video a thumbs up and drop a comment. Which is your favorite game from this section of the list? Or is there one that you're really intrigued to try? Let me know that down in the comment section below. And if you enjoy this content, check out the other content here on the Malts and Meeples YouTube channel, as well as then check out nerdologist.com, where I'm writing articles about board games and other nerdy things basically every weekday. And if you like Marvel movies, comics, TV shows, things like that, you can check out the 10-Minute Marvel podcast. That comes out every Sunday or Monday morning. And you can find that here on YouTube just by searching for 10-Min Marvel or 10-Minute Marvel, or wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, we will see you next time. Bottoms up.